robs a bank with an M16 assault rifle and turns a local corner into chaos. Sergeant Tommy Walsh, Officer Stephanie Warner, and Detective Richard Hickey respond to the 911 call.
The quarters 60, 62, 65, armed robbery in progress. That day was just like any other. I was in the office when the call went out that we had a robbery at the Bank of America on Franklin Road. 133 Franklin Road at Bank of America. We got an armed robbery in progress.
And I was literally a mile away, if that much. So I headed that way.
Did you get back out on Franklin Road, or did you come along the drive?
Individual came out and flagged me down at a gas station that was across the street from the bank. The guy went this way and pointed north. As I pulled out of the parking lot and traveled north, I was approaching a very busy intersection. I went to change the siren tone with my right hand and leaned up both ways to see if there was any traffic coming. And at that point, when I leaned forward a little bit, the suspect shot through the passenger window. Just riddled my seat with bullets. And at that point, I was shot in the arm, but I didn't realize it.
As I was responding to the scene, I heard Officer Stephanie Warner. I could tell that she was involved in a gunfight with the suspect. My focus was to find Stephanie and to help her.
My car was still in drive. Thank goodness I didn't take the time to put it in park. So I jumped out of the car, and at that point, he had ran to my rear tail lights and was shooting at me while I was on the ground. The car was slowly moving forward, and he was shooting at me, and I was shooting at him. He eventually stopped and continued to shoot, but I went with the car. Because I had been shot, I was weak-handed shooting back at him, and when you shoot a firearm weak-handed, it often jams. I had to quickly reload, and by the time I had reloaded, his focus had turned off of me. If I would have been one of those people that says, oh gosh, I'm shot, I gotta get down, then I would have made it. He would have had me.
Of course, I'd heard the radio traffic from Officer Warner, and I was trying to locate her. I was on Franklin Road, which is the 5-lane highway, and there would usually be a huge amount of traffic, but was virtually empty of vehicles. The last thing that I heard her say was that she was in the parking lot of Walgreens. She was trying to tell us that the suspect was in the parking lot of Walgreens. I thought she was in the parking lot, she was down. So that's where I went to. When I pulled up and stopped and got out of my car, I encountered the suspect, and he was probably 30 feet away from me. All I remember really seeing was the rifle that he was holding. As he turned towards me, I drew my weapon, and I managed to fire at him first. He returned fire. 60, 10, 4 shots fired. When I heard the call go out, I was in the office. I grabbed my car keys, and I told my lieutenant what was going on. We ran out the back door. When I was pulling up in the area, I still couldn't see anybody or see what was going on, but I could hear like a metal-on-metal sound, and I remember initially thinking somebody probably had a wreck. What I believe was his first shot went through the door of my patrol car and struck me just above my left knee. I can remember looking over at that patrol car and didn't immediately recognize whose car it was. Later found out it was one of my good friends, Tommy Walsh. I pulled myself across the console of my car. I could see just his feet sticking out of the car. At that point, I heard the suspect. He was yelling to come and get him. There were actually 2 officers in front, 2 behind, when the suspect was at the door, and all of them were shooting at the suspect. We opened fire, and the suspect was hit 6 or 7 times, I think. I remember virtually everything that happened up until the point where I was injured, and I knew the suspect was down.
I got to the car when Sergeant Walsh was down. He was laying in his car, and he was very light. We were both transported to Vanderbilt, and we were laying on the tables right beside each other, and I was able to look over at him, and we were able to communicate, and so I was a little bit more at ease, I'm sure, about him than others were.
Most police officers get to go through their career and never have to do that, so I'm hoping that was my one time. You just don't ever know when something like this could happen.
Bank robber Gary Thomas Brown didn't survive the shootout. For their courageous sacrifices, Sergeant Tommy Walsh and Officer Stephanie Warner earned Purple Hearts.